Tide here with another episode of 7.5 Questions. This episode features everyone's favorite evil genius coming to us straight from his evil lair. Get ready for 7.5 Questions with PocanJoe. All right, PocanJoe. Thanks for being my next guinea pig on 7.5 Questions.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Not a problem at all. So you're familiar with the rules of engagement for this, aren't you?
Yes, sir. That doesn't mean I'll do it right, but I understand them.
You'll get an A for effort any way you look at it. All right. So let's start with your first keyword.
Okay.
For the half question. The first keyword for this round will be to make it be Popeye, since you had your corncob pipe out earlier.
Yeah, I had my little. Okay. Popeye.
All right, Popeye.
All right.
All right. Question number one. How did you come up with your IG handle? And what thought went into your profile photo, your logo, everything that you kind of use associated with your channel?
Okay, so yeah, this is going to be extremely complicated, but let's walk down this path together. It's my name. My name is Joey Pocan. But the whole reason why we PocanJoe is when I was a kid, we would always play Army and stuff like that. And everybody had a code name, right? So we wrote it, and I was always PocanJoe because it just sounded really cool. So when we started the channel, I was like, I like the term Joe because it's average. My favorite drink is coffee besides alcohol.
Just like Joe the plumber.
Right. And I was in the Army, and G.I. Joe was my thing growing up. So I was like, I'm going to bring back the old school nickname of me back when I was 7 years old. So I brought back PocanJoe. My icon for the PocanJoe comic book review, that was actually a piece of original artwork. Unfortunately, I don't have that with me because we're in the evil lair. But if you've seen my YouTube stuff where I'm in my office, it's the picture that's hanging on the back wall.
Okay.
What it is it's me, and everybody knows I'm a villains guy. I love villains in comic books and in movies. Like, the villain is my thing. So it's me kind of dressed up with some reminiscences of my favorite villains, like the Riddler, the Joker. I'm looking at an expensive watch because I like expensive watches. And then there's a Mason coming out of me. That's me as a Mason in my Masonic lodge. And the guy that gave that to me when I became the worshipful master of my lodge, he showed up, and that is a piece of original art from him. And it kind of what sparked this kind of comic book we've been playing with to see if that's something we want to do. Over on IG, however, I picked something a little different for that because it's very cluttered. Not that it's a beautiful piece of artwork, but you can only fit so much in that little circle.
Right.
And on Instagram, it's even worse. So it's another piece of original art, actually, from a veteran comic book guy, and he kind of made me up looking like Venom. I'm still on this kick. I haven't been able to do it last year. I get local artists, especially if you're veteran or anything along those lines. I always get you to draw me up a cover, and it has something to do with villains. You'll see more of this stuff later. But this is where it came from, and I was like, yeah, because I can be a little spicy on some of my comic book reviews. So the villain thing just kind of fits.
I'm definitely big proponent of supporting your local artist. That's
yes.
Because most of them are never going to be published, but they still need to eat.
Yeah, the passion and the drive that they have. And to be honest, I'll take some of the stuff I'll show later. Or I'll take all this stuff over Peach Mocha. I'm not saying she's bad. I'm not an art critic by any means. But I don't know. Just you'll see when we start showing some of this stuff, some of these people that I've gotten to do commissions and stuff for me. It just blows your mind how talented they are, and they'll never be recognizing it. Oh, God, I'll give them a couple of $100.
Right. There's a lot of IG artists that fall into that category, too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Forgot my air compressor was on. I'm sorry.
I thought maybe it was time to take the cake out of the oven. So, what did you ever consider anything else for your screen name?
So when we were thinking about the whole me on YouTube thing was really started as a joke. It was a joke.
I think that's the case for a lot of people, and still is.
Right. So for most people that know me, my best friend is Spectacular Spider Grandpa on Blaster Stash It. And our wives knew each other. They worked with each other at a GameStop. My wife was running it at the time. And we never really met. And I was just getting out of the Army, and I hadn't quite gotten back into comic books yet. I was kind of just, going through college, had a night job, had a day job, and I was trying to start a business at the same time. So a hobby just wasn't
right.
There. And then we did meet, and we both went to, they convinced us to go with them to Dallas Fan Expo several years ago. And I was like, you know what? I just graduated. I got my second degree because I'm just an overachiever that way. I don't use it except for YouTube. And so we shot on down there, and I got to meet some of the guys from like Blaster Stash It, and I met the Legend and a lot of guys from Comic Core before they were the Comic Core, and met a lot of these YouTubers and stuff. And I was like, I always wanted to do something on YouTube. Always thought I could kind of experiment and play with YouTube. And I was a vivacious comic book reader when I was younger. And I was like, I think I might want to get back into comic. I'm at a Comic Con, might as well buy something, right? And I always have a rule: if you buy something, you read it, right? That's books, whatever. Even instructions for a new tool that I buy, I'm that guy that reads the instructions, right? Doesn't mean I follow them.
Right.
So I started picking up a few things. Yeah. So I started picking up a few things, and I would read it during the con because there's a lot of time to kill at the con. I mean, there's only so much you could do. And I was like, man, this kind of reminds me of, the story of Odysseus. And this kind of reminds me of these other novels that I read while I was deployed. You get these long-winded books, and you would read this stuff in a tent at night just to unwind, literally by candlelight. I have to remind people how old I am when I tell my stories. Sometimes I'm not that old. And I was like, man, I think I could talk about this stuff. So the whole thing started with my very first video, official YouTube video, was actually an entry to the Blaster Stash It Would You Rather contest, the one that we just had not too long ago. And I decided, I don't want to come out there and be that boring guy. I want to have fun. If it's not hot or if I get canceled or whatever, then, just delete it and, go about my life. And then from there, next thing you know, I'm doing weekly pops. I'm on Blaster Stash It. I'm talking about comic books in a more, how is it relevant to like psychology or philosophy or things along these natures, my real kind of interesting patterns.
Right.
And then after that, now it's a habit for me, I guess is the best way to put it. Like, I'm not a huge YouTuber by no means, nor do I believe I ever will be. But it's more like a vlog for me now to get a comic book, read them, get through them, get a video out, and then do something fun. And then the Evil Lair and Drunk Ralphie stuff. Drunk Ralphie is hilarious. That doesn't happen that often. That's where we kind of tackle some psychology and we kind of make fun of motives. And then the Evil Lair projects, that's something that's relatively been known. And this is to get me not so hung up and stay in that little tiny office that I'm always in, but to get out here and use some of these other skills and learn new skills. That was the real reason for it. I've always been a blacksmither, but I don't know how to weld very well, right? So I bought a welder and I taught myself welding, right? And just other skills. And that's really the whole point of the Evil Lair, to take something comic book themed, make something, and give it to somebody, right? Give it back out to somebody if that's plausible. Like our next project's Exploding Arrows. I'm not responsible. I'm not doing that. So just
all right, awesome. All right, question number 2. What was the first comic you remember reading? How old were you when you read it?
Okay, so this is interesting. This really takes me back to my childhood. I grew up in Virginia. Virginia's kind of an unusual place. First off, you don't talk a whole lot about it, but you could pick up comic books at a Teeny Giant. If you don't know what a Teeny Giant is, it's a knockoff 7-Eleven in the ghetto. Right? That's
Okay.
pretty much what it is.
I've never heard of that chain.
Right. So I remember going down to the one that was in an area of Norfolk called Ocean View. It's along the bay area, sand and all that beautiful area. And when I first started getting into comic books, there was one right around the corner, and I had to go pick them up. G.I. Joe was always my thing, right? G.I. Joe, really cool stories. I wasn't so much into Superman. I just thought that was that didn't, like, even as a child, right? So you figure these comic books came from 84, 85-ish. Right. And I don't have the originals. Like I said, I was a very destructive kid. Not that much has changed, but I was a very destructive child, if you will. So things didn't last very long when I had them. But the very first G.I. Joe comic book that I actually picked up was G.I. Joe number 22. I got first appearance of Duke, right? And then immediately when I saw Duke and who Duke was, I was like, dude, that's me. I could be that dude, right? And then like his best friend, Roadblock, who at the time, my best friend was this, he was an African-American, or he was a black kid. We grew up together. Like we listened to NWA and read comic books and talked nerd shit. Like that's what we did. You know? So this really holds, because this was us. We would go play this. We'd storm the beaches as Duke and Roadblock, right? So this was a good one. And the first one I actually bought with my own money. I got this scheme in my head where people would go out to the bay and on the sand, and they would just leave their cans out there. So me being entrepreneurial, I went out there and collected up all the cans and got my change for it. And again, this isn't the original, but when this popped, this was what all the kids were talking about in middle school. And that was the Web of Spider-Man when it first came out. So that was the very first comic book I bought with my own money on a spinner rack. And man, next thing you know, we all want to be the symbiote suit Spider-Man. That was our thing. We weren't bright kids. We were just kids.
Just normal.
Yeah, normal.
So yeah, those are all copies you've purchased. You destroyed your originals.
Oh yeah.
Like burn after reading type thing, right?
Yeah, basically you read it, you roll it up, throw it in your back pocket, jump on your BMX bikes, because every rad kid had a BMX bike, or you took your Nash skateboard and rolled it down the road, and you might get another read out of it, before it just got chucked in the trash or something like that. But we had no idea that the idea of collecting something was not in our mindset. Like we've sent G.I. Joes, out into the ocean with bottle rockets strapped to their back, or, set them on fire. That was something we did. Just craziness.
So who bought the G.I. Joe for you?
That was something my mom used to do. My mom was a huge component of me reading in some way, shape, or form. She didn't care, and she always wanted me to read out loud. This is why I still take notes today. I'm a fanatical reader when it comes to that. I guess that love came from my mother. My dad was more of the technical, skilled math individual. He was an engineer by trade. So it was one thing to read into my house, but you had to be you had to have a skill set, and math had to be included in that skill set. Didn't matter what the skill set was. So that was always something that was beat on us as children. Well, not beat. Our parents didn't beat us. I'm a spoiled child now, so I wasn't beat. But that was something that was really instigated. And when my mom tried to get me, I think I might have lied to y'all. My first comic book that I actually had in my hand that my mom kind of read along with me were classic illustrated. But let's be honest, no kid from the 80s was digging that stuff.
No. No. I do now, but I definitely didn't.
Now you can get the Iliad in 28 pages. Do you know how long that book is?
Yeah. I even have the Marvel, where Marvel did their own classics line in the early 2000s.
Yeah, they did. They kind of rehashed some of the classic stories. I think
that was like between 2 and 5 issues for whatever the book was. Yeah, that was kind of neat. I still got those laying around somewhere. All right. Question. Well, we need to give you another keyword.
Oh, okay.
Another keyword. As I look around your evil lair, I see a milk crate. Actually, I see a couple. So let's use milk crate.
Oh, I'm getting the hard one. I've seen the last couple episodes, man. This seems a little. Okay.
So far you've got Popeye and milk crate.
Great. All right.
Question number 3. When it comes to your personal collection, what's your favorite age, genre, publisher, and title? And now all those are independent of one another, so they don't have to follow the same path.
So when it comes to actually categorizing comic books that way, I don't really do that. Most of the time, I couldn't even tell you who most of these publishers are unless I look at it. But what I did is I brought in some samplings, and I'll show you some of the stuff that I like to collect. I put them right over here. Kept them away from the dirt. So I guess as far as genres go, this is where things are going to get confusing. Like most people, something will turn me on for a while and I want to chase that down, right? And then something will turn me on at one point. So currently, right now, I've dedicated 2 short boxes to B-list villain first appearances. Like that's how I categorize stuff, right? That's how I break things down into some weird no-name thing. So some things that I kind of pulled out to kind of show you guys today. Some of the stuff that I like to collect. I just brought out a couple of samplings. There's more of it. Ranger comics. I was an Army Ranger. Love Ranger. Not Ranger. This is Rangers. Just Rangers. I'm sorry. These 2 were actually a gift from another YouTuber from a Comic-Con. And then immediately I was like, okay, I need at least 65 issues of this. I pick an arbitrary number. It doesn't matter. And then I find 65 issues starting from 1. Right?
Well, because there's only 69 total issues, so you might as well just get the full run.
Yeah, might as well. I didn't even know that. That's a good point. See, I picked up issues 1 through 12, and like these are like in their 60s. So I was like, so that's something that I can kind of relate to. I kind of get that. It's kind of that World War II vibe. And I don't know. I guess today that kind of artwork for Asian people would probably not be the thing. Probably get canceled real quick.
So that part of your PC is not PC.
Right. I also love sci-fi covers. I'm not a big fan of sci-fi stories, but I love sci-fi covers, especially from that golden age and early silver age. So some good ones. I always say the bigger the fins on the spaceship, the cooler the cover.
Yeah, right? That's how you would have drawn it as a kid.
Yeah, because that's just ridiculous, right? So there's Unexpected, of course, Flying Saucers. The cooler you can make those.
Yeah, that's a cool cover. I've never seen that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. But my favorite one of all in the sci-fi selection is you got to go with Rocket Kelly. Like you can't beat that, right?
I remember you talking about him in another video or maybe the live stream you're on. Yeah, that's
when I found this and the price I got it for, and it's considered an era issue. It was one of those things that you're always looking for, and chances are you never find it. So that was huge for me. And again, just Flying Saucers. I love the way aliens were depicted. The little green men, the ridiculous suits. That stuff's always fun. And then, you got your classic stories you got to have too, with the classic covers. So something like World's Finest with an early appearance of Batwoman. Ridiculous Monsters. That's another thing. World's Finest always seem to have the coolest covers to me.
Almost every title back in that period.
Yeah.
It's hard to find a cover that you look at and go, I don't like that.
And then it's kind of hard to tell people that, Plastic Man was actually kind of a creepy comic when it first came out. Like, that's their version of Spider-Man. Like, that's just creepy, right?
Yeah.
Some other ones. And then I like your more forgotten about superheroes. I love the Green Llama. Yeah, you got to show some homage there because that's really cool. That was the Shadow and Batman before the Shadow and Batman. Like that's where it was at.
Yeah, not many people know the llama.
Yeah, that's one of those obscure ones that like I learned when I really got into Golden Age, Silver Age collecting. Like there is a whole nother class of comic book collector out there that you just wouldn't believe the knowledge that's in these cats' heads from stuff that went before they were even born. Like it's ridiculous. And of course, Our Man. I love the idea of that it was okay to take steroids. That's what he did. And of course, you gotta love good looking jungle covers, right? Like that's always a thing. Every Golden Age collector I know has a short box, long box, stash away of just great jungle covers, especially Jumbo. I like this one in particular, the good girl kind of vibe to it.
You know who did that cover? Kind of looks like Kuppenberg, but
I believe it is Kuppenberg, actually. I have to crack it open and take a look, which I'm not going to do.
It looks like his style, but I mean, a lot of people mimicked other artists back there in the day. And
then no Golden Age collection is complete without, of course, Mr. Golden Age himself, Dick Tracy, right? You got to love yourself some super comics with Dick Tracy in it. And I love these because they have multiple stories. A lot of these, right? That was the thing to do, to cram as many stories as you could in something to kind of attract as many interests as you can. But if you read through all of them, it was like, good. I like weird sounding names that I can go giggity giggity about.
Yeah.
I'm a child. What can I say?
I came across one today called Comic Comics.
Yeah, Comics. I've seen that. That's ridiculous. Like it's like saying DC Comics. It's the same thing. And then there's always the stuff that you have in your hand. You don't quite know what it is, but you know it's rare, and you're buying it in an estate sale. So you pay a little bit more just to get it. But I actually have a Wilbert #2.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. I didn't know what this was until I bought the entire collection, and then I brought it in and I looked at it and I was like, oh, that's actually. So I kind of flipped through it and read it. It's funny stuff. It's kind of like it has a Archie vibe to it.
Well, all the Archie stuff is.
Yeah. My favorite and most completed collection from the Golden Age is Ranger Comics. Just kind of started off as war and kind of morphed into more of a Western. But again, there's other things in here as well. So I really enjoy that. And again, nice jungle covers. You can see which ones I value the most. They're in the shinier covers. And then
the better Mylar.
Yeah. And then, there's just something about, and I would probably say it's probably my favorite, monster covers. Just having that monster on the cover, doing something voracious and just scary. So that should look kind of familiar. The first appearance of Orgo. And, of course, horror. Gotta love yourself some horror, some good old-fashioned Tales to Astonish. This is just a sampling of some of the stuff I had. And when I was going through it, I was like, man, I don't know what to show off. So I just kind of grabbed a little bit of everything.
That whatever fits your profile. That's what we're looking for. That's what everybody wants to see.
Oh, good. Let me set these back here so they're out of the way. So yeah, when it comes to genres and things like that, I would definitely have to go with the Golden Age and Silver Age. One, because, and again, I'm a valuation guy. During the day, I work for corporations and stuff like that for small businesses. So I always evaluate value. That doesn't sound right, but that's correct. That's weird. But so, I want to get as much bang as I can for my buck. I want as many interesting stories, and I want different stories, right? Because I don't read just the same stories. I'm kind of neurotic that way. But so, yeah, I would have to go with older comic books. And I also, there's this rumor that constantly goes around that, older comic books are kind of two-dimensional. There's a problem, and the superhero flies in and punches him in the face, and, it's over. And I'm like, man, no. You really need to read some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like there is cocaine addiction back before cocaine was illegal. Like they were warning about it in Golden Age comic books, and heroin, and just before the comic code got involved, like it was just whatever you want to put in an illustration, you can do it. And it was just ridiculous. Some of the even looking at some of just a good example. And please feel free to edit this part if you want to, but I love this. It's absolutely hilarious. Dick Tracy had a very famous saying. It was very popular, like, give just the facts, ma'am. He had a saying like that. And he would tell somebody, hey, just give me the straight dick.
Exactly.
Back then it had a totally different meaning. So, and just seeing that kind of stuff, you're a child, you giggle, but then you start to realize, like those cats were really different back then. Like they talk to kids like this.
Yep. Awesome. And not quite as old as your Dick Tracy, but
oh, look at that. I like how clean it. Man, you get some of the cleanest comic books. Like I rubbage my shit. That is awesome.
And the reason I went with this one is because this is the first original Dick Tracy story in comics. Because as you know, prior to this, everything was just reprints of the serials.
Right. Yeah. Also, another rule that I have when collecting, if it's a Golden Age comic book and there is purple on the cover, I buy it.
Okay, I've never really paid attention, I guess, to how much purple is on the Golden Age. But
very rare because it was so expensive to make purple on them that even that, like, it was a super rare thing to see. And then, like, all of a sudden the Joker comes out and he's got purple pants. People start losing their minds. Like purple for Golden Age collectors that I've seen, if they see purple on a cover, like they argue over that stuff. And I'm like, wow.
Lots of yellow. Definitely lots of yellow on Golden Age.
Yeah.
But in reds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess that's an aspect I never thought about. I'm going to have to start paying attention from now on.
Yeah, again, that was something, and again, that's what makes the comic book community, I think, kind of unique, because it's just like any other community, right? You people have been in it a while, people have different views, different opinions, but at the end of the day, you learn so much cool stuff. Like I would have never picked up a comic that was named Gay Comics, right? Because I'm a child at heart, right? I'm like, that's not going in my collection. And then when I picked it up and somebody was telling me about them and how rare they actually are, because those were some of the comic books that got burned back in the day, and it was like, holy crap.
So if you could only read one, let's just say if you could only read one title for the rest of your life, you had to pick one title. And it could be current. It could be something that's been out of print for years. There was only one title.
I would definitely try to pick one of the longest running titles I possibly could. And to my knowledge, that would probably be Tales to Astonish. I would probably read that. I think between monsters and horror and superhero stories, like I think Tales of Astonish has probably the most diverse run of all of them, and you would probably get more out of it. That's right up there with Tales of Suspense and things like that.
Right.
I'd probably go that route, as long as I got to read them from the first issues that came out to current. That would probably be it.
That definitely a nice variety in that run.
Yeah.
I'd always pick the Dell 4-color one because it was really long. And it was a good variety, but it was lacking in kind of the superhero category.
Yeah. There's a lot of comedy in that. That was kind of their thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Geared towards comedy. Yeah. Which is fine. I like to laugh.
And there were so many books that their first appearance was in a 4-color. And then they'd used it for trials. Yeah. And then if it sold well, then they gave them their own series. So,
yeah. I think a lot of like Tales of Suspense, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes too, because I prepped.
Unlike some guests.
Yeah, Tales of Suspense, Tales to Astonish, those kind of books, and then of course for your 4-colors and several others that kind of had these multiple stories And
Showcase is another one.
yeah, they were always kind of
An
the launching
adventure.
ground. They kind of test the market to see if people wanted to read more about these
Right.
particular characters. And I always liked that. I always liked the prototype phase of a comic book hero.
Yes. And if we only knew what a prototype was back then
Right.
and held on to those issues. All right. Awesome. Let's go to next question. Question number 4. What's that one collectible that got away from you?
All right. So getting back into comic books as an adult, me and my wife have a rule in our house. If we're going to take on an expensive hobby, the hobby has to pay for itself in some way, shape, or form. Initial seed, we treat it like a business. Initial seed money, right? And then the goal is for the thing that you do to eventually pay for itself.
Be self-sufficient. Yep.
Right. So, you don't be, using credit cards and getting into all kinds of weirdness. So the one that got away from me was, it just so happens to be some Tales of Suspense. More importantly, it was Tales of Suspense number 50, 54, and 62. Those are the 3 that got away from me. I had picked those up at an estate sale, and they were like easy 7s, right? 7.5 frame, right? And I was like, man, I really want to go to this Comic-Con because I really kind of want to dive into this Golden Age stuff, right? So I was like, damn it, I got these books. And then all of a sudden, Iron Man 3 pops out, and the Mandarin, everybody's losing their mind, right? Because, that was the Mandarin. Thank God it wasn't, but right. It was, right? And the values of those books just went stupid crazy because speculators are guessing at best. So I threw all 3 on eBay, and I over-evaluated them. And I even put it in the description. I believe this to be an over-evaluation at this point. I will resend, right? So I'm telling bidders, you don't have to bid on this one if you think it's too much. Just wait, a week, and I'll re-put them out, and I'll readjust the price. I'm probably the only guy on eBay that has ever done that.
I would say so, yeah.
And no, all 3 books went for there was a bidding war on them. And each one of them, I'm not going to say how much I know somebody's watching this like, how much did they go for? How much did they go for? I'm not going to say that. But let's just say it was stupid smacky in the mouth money, and it just got stupid ridiculous. And again, I put it because I don't get this whole spec thing that goes on. These people lose their minds. But I sold them. And if you don't know, these 3 books I was able to pick them up recently at nowhere near the amount of money that I sold them for. And I'm super happy to have them back into my collection, especially after sacrificing the way I did. So it's, let me make sure I got them in the right order here. It's the first appearance of the Mandarin. Also, first appearance of Blackthorn. I want to say it's Blackthorn too. Did I put it on here? First appearance of the Mandarin and the Mandarin rings. 54 is the second appearance of the Mandarin. Again, these covers were just so cool back there. And then last but not least, we finally find out that the Mandarin rings are not mystical items. They're in fact pieces of technology, and their origin of the Mandarin and the rings in Tales of Suspense number 62. So yeah, I did the thing, but I lucked out just finding these in another collection that just some random dude had.
So those aren't ones that they didn't really get away. You let them go and then got them back.
Yeah. And again, I took the money I made from those, and I actually finished off my Ranger Comics run with those. So like double, and still had money to drink at a Comic-Con. So it was like winning.
So is there anything you wish that you would have let get away? Something maybe you bought, overpaid for, or even something maybe you didn't overpay for, just afterwards, kind of the buyer's remorse set in.
Most of the modern comic books that I
90% of your long boxes, like me.
I joke and I kid, but so right now, for the people that watch this, if you don't know, I I sit on another panel called Blaster or Stash It, where we do weekly reviews. And sometimes I'll stick my foot in my mouth where I'll say something to the effect of, hey, I will read this arc through so you don't have to. And right now, a lot of the X-Men stuff that's coming out, and I get there's people that like it, right? So all my opinions and my reviews are subjective to my likes and dislikes. So if it's your thing, don't get mad and don't start dumbing down this poor guy, because that's just unfair, right? But as I'm reading a lot of this stuff and I'm looking at it, I'm like, is there a villain here? Is it ideology? Like, I'm kind of missing what am I supposed to be paying attention to in this? Because it's a bunch of people that sit around and eat, and then panels of them drinking coffee, and then nonsensical dialogue about the philosophy of something that doesn't even exist because it's a fictional character. So there are weeks where my wife's even like, you figure on average, I probably spend weekly between $100 and $150 on comic books. And I read them and review them. That way, because I understand some people, they're not trying to buy that many comic books. Like, I get it. But you should still know what's going on out there. Unfortunately, you get my opinion with it. I don't know how that works out. But sometimes, like I said, especially when I stick my foot in my mouth, I really regret getting
I'm glad that fly was on your side and not mine.
Yeah,
I was ready to swat at
it. He's flying around here. So sometimes I regret that kind of stuff. Some other things I regretted at some of these Comic Cons, I go through FOMO like everybody else. And for a while there, I was into the whole cover buying thing, and I just hated the story. And then, I had to kind of do a little self-reflection. Why am I buying these things? I'm not an art critic. I can't talk to art in any way. I'm not even artistic. I don't even listen to good music. Like, I should not be giving my opinions or trying to buy this stuff. It doesn't mean anything to me. So so some of these covers that I ended up buying, I really like, especially the gimmick ones, like the metal, like they came out with the metal covers for Batman number 50. I think I got like 2 of those. Right. And got them signed and the whole 9 yards. And I was like, I'm going to flip them. And then I was like, I'm too lazy to flip them. Like somebody wants. So, and that's what kind of created my whole little auction site that I have, where I buy all these comic books now and I read them, and I know I'm not going to keep them. So I put them into an auction, usually clump them together, throw a dollar bill on the starting bid, and you could very well end up with that comic.
Right.
So yeah, that's probably just FOMO. FOMO. If you're a comic book collector and you're like, I don't fall for FOMO, I just have high-end valued books. Slick, you got FOMO. Like, that's FOMO.
Right. And then spill it over to every other aspect of your collecting life.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, FOMO's real. And that affects a lot of people.
It does. And you know what? Even in Golden Age, that's where, like, if you're running the circuit, if you will, there's highs and lows in those valleys too. So like Walt Disney Golden Age books, like those were peaking. And mind you, and I'm gonna say this, and please again, don't hate me out there, people. Don't thumb down them. These are just my opinions. I gave an evaluation of some mystery boxes where I did an actual evaluation of them. And of course, you don't get your value in this stuff. And at the end of the day, this stuff isn't really value. It's all fool's economics at the end of the day. Fool's economics just means you bought something because for the sole purpose that some other fool would spend money for it.
Like NFTs.
Yeah. The housing market works that way. Cars work that way. This is a stable theory in economics. And comic books kind of do this too, right?
Guns don't work that way, though, or ammo.
There's a reason why I make my own, son. But yeah, so and like Disney was hot for a while, and all of a sudden all these Golden Age collectors, like aged Golden Age collectors, all of a sudden started wigging out about getting all these Disney properties out there, and I was like, what? Like, I don't want to read that stuff. No, it's going to be worth millions. And I'm like, and that's the running joke with me and Spider Grandpa. whenever we make fun of a book, we're like, one day it's going to be worth millions. And then immediately the response is millions in the background.
All right. All right. Anything so far you wanna add to any of our previous questions? Anything you think you missed? I think you've been pretty thorough.
Because I'm usually very long-winded. I guess the most important thing is if you buy the things you like and you don't feel that you're under any constraints or fictitious rules, that's what I always call them. Like this whole, you got to buy the whole run. Well, why not just get an arc? Start at an arc, right? I mean, actually read the book and enjoy the book and have a good time with the book, right? I always find that to be better advice and a lot cheaper too. Also, again, good habits. Good hobbies pay for themselves. How you doing?
Definitely think you touched on so far. All right. It's time for another keyword.
Oh, keyword.
Keyword number 3. Secret keyword. Red. And you can make that be R-E-D or R-E-A-D. That's up to you. Red.
I didn't even think of that. I'm good. Okay.
So there's a variable. It's like throwing a spitball at you.
Boy, I'm not getting out of this one easy, am I?
All right, question number 5. And I think you kind of touched on this one already. Who are your favorite artists?
So I'm not a complete hater of modern artists today. I should clarify that. In independent books and other books, there are some just beautiful people out there doing some beautiful, beautiful work. But again, I'm always more drawn to localized artists. But if I had to pick somebody, Schomburg, right? Every Golden Age comic book collector is going to Schomburg. Like that, just you spit it out like it's a phrase, right? And I'm trying to think of some names of some more modern ones that I know I like. I probably couldn't really name them, but I could tell you the comic books that they're in. So like the current run of Fantastic Four, the current run right now, the story arc, love the artist in that. Whoever this cat is that just did the Batman Reptile book that just came out today, holy crap, that is some dark stuff. And I was like, I really like this kind of surreal noir feel to the entire book. It's just great. But I always find it to be better when somebody like Scotty Young tells the story and the artist understands Scotty Young and what he's trying to tell. Because that always turns out like Middle West. That was great cartoon. It was cartoony, but it was still good. And even currently with Strange Academy, again, great artwork in there. A fun book, great jokes with some drama behind it, but not like teen, quirky, weird drama, if that makes any sense. So, again, even a bad artist can do good work as long as him and the writer jive. I kind of look at it as more of a team. I'm sorry, are we allowed to drink on here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can always turn it into 7.5 questions after dark if I need to.
Right. I start slurring. By the way, just to show you how much I am to evil villains tonight, I'm a big drinker of mead because I think I'm a Viking. So even tonight I got root of all evil. Nice.
Ginger mead.
Yeah.
I probably would have been into that back in the day.
Oh, this stuff's got some kick to it. Oh,
I noticed your vessel you were drinking from earlier looked kind of like a horn.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is an ox horn.
Nice. So okay,
yeah.
back to the artwork. How much original art do you have? I know you said you like to support your local artists and
Would you like to see?
I would love to see. I could look at art all day.
No, okay. So again, most of this is going to be localized stuff. I don't get too much from big name artists. And most of the stuff I do need to frame. So again, remember I was kind of on a kick where I wanted like local artists to make me a villain, right? So this one guy, the very first one that I had done at a Comic Con was at the Hampton Roads Comic Con, and Riddler's my favorite villain of all time. He's quirky, he's weird, narcissistic, but he's like super smart. So he has a reason to have an ego, right? So I had one do me up like, and this is all pre-beard. I shouldn't have to explain that.
I saw a couple of those videos and didn't recognize you. I'm like, who's doing Joe's videos here when he started?
Right? It's like all
you had a stand-in.
My friend Daniel Montoya, who did the artwork for my YouTube avatar, he, as a thank you, we took him to Baltimore Comic-Con with us, and he made me the Joker. And honestly, that is my favorite piece of art so far. And really, he just did it to be a nice guy. Like, I felt bad. I felt like I should have gave him some money. But when my wife saw this, she's the one that picked him to grab that avatar or do the picture for me that eventually turned into the avatar. So,
so who is that supposed to be?
This is me as the Joker.
Oh, okay. That's another Joker likeness. Got it.
Yeah. So
it looked like I thought it was somebody from Insane Clown Posse.
Nice. I'm also a huge fan of Tucci. I'm sure you're familiar with Tucci. I like Tucci, one, as an artist. Two, he is also, every time I see him in an American Legion, we always talk because we're both members of the American Legion. And whenever he's at a con or something like that, he always takes donations for his local post. So he did this for me.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
That is just, I was like, this is
that looks straight up like it should be a cover for GI Combat.
Right? Like, that's kind of his niche area, is the combat thing, as a veteran himself. So, yeah, he did this one for me, and I absolutely am in love with this. He took an old picture of me in my uniform, and he knows I'm a fan of World War II. The good guy side, not the bad guy side. You have to say that. It's 2021.
Yes.
So I told him I wanted to look like a first sergeant, and man, he just hooked it up for me, and it's just awesome. Some other artwork, again, I like getting quirky things done. I have a quirky kind of attitude. So me and Spectacular Spider Grandpa and our wives know each other, and we go to Comic Cons, and we go and do things together all the time. So this particular artist did myself and my wife. My wife is fire, son. And then Spectacular Spider Grandpa and his wife. And that was just fun, a little fun time that we had together. And last but not least, we have a local guy here. We have a couple of local people who I really enjoy. One's a story writer, and this one's a story writer and artist. And he has a comic book called The Executives, and I love this comic book. I wish it would come out more often. But I got him to do a blank cover for me when the whole Cosmic Ghost Rider thing came out and the Thanos worked together, and I reviewed that. I enjoyed that run. So he found out that, and he did me up a nice little penciling as well. So again, another couple of villains just hanging out, just chilling.
Villains chilling. That sounds like a YouTube show.
Yeah, right. Villains chilling. Damn, I should have named PocanJoe Villains chilling. As far as other artwork goes, again, it just depends on the con that I'm at. But mostly in my office, in the background, you'll see some other artwork that artists have done for me over the years. There's one where I'm kind of like a Rambo coming out of the jungle, the Masonic one, and then another one where a guy took a picture that my wife gave him of me in the background with a bunch of vehicles in the background, like straight up hardcore bombing type vehicles. And he did a little sketch with me in the middle of the mall with my little beret on and everything. It was really cool. So I always like the stuff that has a little bit of personal meaning to me. One, I'll remember and appreciate it a lot more. And two, it's cooler. Can't explain cool, man. It's just cool.
I mean, that's probably the most important thing. As long as you can say it's cool. Cool to you.
That's right.
That's all that matters. So I know you said you had some other artwork, at the office that you didn't bring out. Do you have much in the way of published artwork?
Not so much, so much. Like I said, when I go to a con, I'll go down to Artisan Alley, and I have a finite amount of cash with me that I'm going to spend down there. So what I do is I spend a lot of time at Artisan Alley trying to figure out how I'll have an idea in my head. Very rarely am I like, just draw whatever you want. You're like, I don't.
Yeah.
I have an idea in my head what I want, and I'll explain it to them. If they're just not like, the story, the writer and the artist have to jive to get that perfect picture going.
Right.
Because I'm going to keep that. Like, that's not
they
going
have to be on the same page, per se.
Right. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So, yeah.
You need to have that sound effect queued up, I guess.
So, yeah. And there's been times where I'm like trying to explain to somebody who's really nice, but they're just not jiving with me. What I found to be true in my short time on YouTube, buying artwork, what little artwork I do buy, is for some reason I can explain something to a veteran because we talk the same language. We talk about our military history and where we've been and what we've done. And then I'm explaining to them exactly what I want. And they're like, how's this look? Like, they always do like a little test thing. And I'm like, you're on it, Bubba. Make that happen. And then I just, here, take my money. And then I go ask my wife for some more money. Because sometimes, as much as you want it to, your hobby should pay for itself. But let's be honest, what's another $100?
Yep. Or another grand. Yeah, we've all been there, and we'll be there again.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, awesome. Question 6. We're home stretch. We're getting there.
All right.
Question number 6. So, do you collect anything besides comic books and comic book related items? I mean, there's.
Yes. There's 2 other things that I collect. One I did not bring out, unfortunately, because they stay in their cases. Watches. I am a huge, expensive watch collector. The other one, and this is going to sound cheesy and it's going to sound like I'm cheating, right? But I collect skill sets, baseline skill sets. I like to learn a new skill. And then I like to show off the fact that I learned that skill. And then I like to incorporate that skill with other skills. And that's legitimately why we started the Evil Lair. One, from the knowledge of comic books, my background in some minor engineering and mathematics and blacksmithing and welding and measurement taking and designing. And that's really the whole point of it. So skill sets. And one would even say with skill sets, you end up with a huge collection of tools. I'm one of those people that I always believe you should always keep your mind healthy and your hands busy. You'll grow better, you'll learn more, and you'll always have something really cool to share with other people. So, collecting comic books, you have something, you've read it, you know about it, you've nourished your mind, and then you can share that with somebody. Same thing here in the Evil Lair. I think our next project, the exploding arrows, the design work's already done for it. The skill set that I'm going to be learning in that is how to work with carbon fibers, because all the arrows will be carbon fiber. I've known how to make explosives forever. That's where most of my G.I. Joe toys ended up. But in this one, we're going to learn how to set a trigger correctly. And again, I can't show all of it on YouTube, right? Because I'm not trying to make everybody a terrorist or anything like that.
Right.
This is just, Green Arrow and Hawkeye had exploding arrows. So did Rambo. What would that look like in real life? If you really had to do that, would putting a giant charge at the end of an arrow, does that even make sense? And the answer is no. So I'm going to make one that would operate as any other arrow would, and it will explode and throw shrapnel. It's not just a boomer. It will do damage. And then we're going to go blow something up. Depending on my aim.
Awesome. Awesome. Let me give you your fourth. Let me give you your fourth keyword now.
Okay.
Let's see. So far, we've got Popeye. We've got Milk Crate. We've got red, which you have. You can go either way with that word. And let's use. Well, since you're stroking your beard, let's use beard.
Oh, damn it. Like I thought I had something. You just threw me for a loop.
So Popeye, Milk Crate, red, and beard. So
okay,
you got a little time to think. We got one more question to go through.
All right.
Before you get your dreaded half question. All right. So so today you mentioned about your being a Mason.
Yeah.
And the other day I saw one of your videos. I forget which one it was, and you had on a shirt with maybe like a youth trap team or something shirt.
Shooting team. That was through the American Legion.
Shooting sports team, right? So, what sort of you obviously give back to the community, not just the comic community, but it sounds like your local community through Masons and through the trap team. So, what all charitable endeavors do you enjoy? I mean, I got a feeling it's almost as extensive as your comic collection.
So,
because people who don't want idle hands tend to belong to, charitable organizations because they always want help and volunteers and people to do work.
So yeah, you're taking away the ability from me. That's not fair. All right. So organizations that I'm a member of, we'll start there. I'm a life member of the VFW. I've been a commander of a VFW post. I've been the commander of 2 American Legion posts. I've started the first youth air rifle team that took state national champions, and one of our young ladies is going to the Olympic team.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
So we're very excited about that. Youth shooting sports have always been a thing for me. I worked while I was going through college, my second time. I worked at night as a firearms instructor, was one of my jobs. American Legion, I worked through all the officers there at my local Masonic Lodge. I'm a member. I do a lot of charitable work through there for both our community, especially orphans and our elderly in the area. Most of the time, that just means going around and talking to them. And I do enjoy that. And I learned a lot of things. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, it was really cool, especially when you meet one that actually read a comic book. Just to see a 65 or 80-year-old man that kind of sort of remembers a comic book and watching their face light up about it, it's actually really fun. I don't tell them what comic books are like today.
No, no, you don't want to tell them the new Batman story.
Yeah, right.
Or maybe you do. I don't know.
Let me think. VFW, I'm a member of the Ruitans, and there I act as a business counselor for startup companies. Especially home-based type companies. I help strip costs in businesses because that's usually where you make your first mistake. You're putting out too much money. I also do the same thing for the Rotary and Ruitans, of course. What are some other organizations? Oh, jeez. I'm a member of the NRA, but I'm not into the legislative side of it. I do more youth programs.
Like NRA Foundation.
Yeah, I teach a lot of how to shoot, and archery. I love teaching archery as well. I also, the Department of Virginia Wildlife, I teach hunting safety classes, and I take the wounded warriors out on hunting trips. I try to do that a couple of times throughout the year. And in blacksmithing, I'll make things for blacksmithing that we auction off for charities for any of the organizations. I love auctions. It's kind of like competition, and you get something cool. So I always kind of handcraft and make a few things.
Where else can you say you won and it cost you money?
Yeah, right. So we do that a lot. And currently, for my local American Legion, my post right down the road here, I've kind of stepped away from the leadership roles, and now I kind of focus on raising fun and engaging fundraising events to get people to come in, hang out with your veterans, do something cool. And what does that look like at the end of the day? We've had Brewfest there. We've had Comic Cons. Well, not Comic Con, Comic Swaps, I should say, because they're not that big.
Right.
Small building. So pretty much, I would say once a month. No, I take that back. At least once a week, I'm in 3 different meetings at night.
That takes away from your layer time.
It does, but
it breaks up the monotony, right?
That's the great thing about the evil layer, because you'll always hear me saying the evil layer, this 30-day project. I don't care how simple it is. It damn near takes 30 days with everything else I got going on in my life.
Yeah, and if you're like me, the majority of it happens in the last 3 days of that 30 days.
Yes.
Procrastinate, and it's not really procrastination either. It's just there's other shit to do.
Yeah, you gotta take a break. Like, people are always asking me, what are you watching on the streaming channels right now? And I was like, I was driving from point A to point B, and I listened to Loki.
Listening, exactly. Listening. Yeah. So you definitely you've got, like I like to say, you've not only do you have a lot of irons in the fire, you've got multiple fires going.
Yeah, and it's there's something to be said about it. And we mentioned this one night over at Blaster Stash It. Not that I'm trying to take people away from your show, but we always kind of do a thing over there where we have like a philosophy corner for real quick, where we just kind of mention something that's philosophically based inside of a comic book or show or something along those lines. And I get the ideas from the previous week. And somebody's like, well, what's the philosophy of a Renaissance man? And I was like, well, first off, the whole concept of a Renaissance man is garbage. I would strive to be more of an artificer. And an artificer is a skillful worker of brass and other metals, and is also a master of mathematics. So you combine the physical with the mental to create and build something that can be useful and adorned at the same time. That's a lot of words and a lot of weird ones, but whereas a Renaissance man just knows the basics of a lot of things and can talk about it, and then this is a personal belief. I think men should always be able to step up and do something, like just physically do something. Right? It's a horrible thing to say in today's day and age, but I'm old and I'm a veteran and I can do what I want.
Even if it's wrong, do something.
Even if it's wrong,
don't just sit on your hands.
Go do it.
Yep. Agree 100%. It's funny, Renaissance Man was that Danny DeVito movie.
Yeah. And he mentioned, and I remember that movie. That movie came out right about the time I joined the Army. No, In the Army Now came out when I joined.
Early 90s, I think, is when Renaissance Man came out.
And I vaguely remember watching it, and I was like, yeah, it sounds really cool. At the end of the day, like the guy could jump over. That was the whole Renaissance physical part of him. He was a smart jock, right? That was the thing. And I was like, man, who cares? What skill is jumping over? That's not a skill. Like, have a skill. Know how to measure something. Know how to cut something. Know how to build something. Know how to create value in something. Know how to strip gold, recycle cans, cast. I don't care. Something that will make you sweat as an individual. And I can literally say hauling comic book boxes around makes me sweat. So there's the physical part of it too. But whatever that is, have it a mental part of it and a physical aspect of it. And I promise you, at the end of the day, you'll laugh as much as I stroke my beard and laugh at myself.
Yeah. And you got to be able to laugh at yourself, because everybody else already is too.
That's right. Amen.
So, all right. That sounds like a good place to stop. Well, that is after we get your half question.
Oh, are you ready for my half question?
Ready.
It's in and out, baby. Hey, is that bearded Popeye looking mother? I'll extract the carrying the red crate. What's in that red crate?
All right, and the answer is
Golden Age Comics.
Works for me. Works for me. All right. Anything else you want to add? Any closing remarks?
No, just hey, all you watching was really fun. I don't like. I know this is like the third episode. I am sure Hoarder's Hide would love to have you on to give your take too. This was really fun. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, thanks for coming.
This was great. I know I've subbed. I've already. Have you? If you haven't subbed, you need to sub.
If I could sub myself, I would.
Fair enough.
Oh, all right. Well, PocanJoe, thanks again for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And that's it for now. I'm Scott from Hoarder's Hide, and
I'm PocanJoe.
until next time.